So conservative elites are livid over Trump's iron grip on power in the GOP. So take a look at this. Raw Story says, it's insane. Conservatives furious over Trump's hold on the GOP 1 year after insurrection. So this is from a longer article in Politico. At time of Capitol prayer service, January 6th, Trump will deliver remarks doubling down on the idea, the notion of the big lie, which of course he says, well, he really won the election and it was just because of all this widespread voter fraud and rigging, which made it so that he lost. Well, listen, there's been 60 court cases over this, and in those 60 court cases, I believe Trump lost every one but like one, and the one that he won was just over some procedural nonsense. So it wasn't even, nothing hinged on it. No outcome was changed as a result of it. Now then, of course, you have the Arizona audit, and the Arizona audit turns out Trump not only lost, but he lost by more than what the original number showed. So we've been over this. We've rehashed this a million times. You have Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy, going out there with all these insane conspiracy theories and making a fool of himself on a regular basis. So, but here's what happened. What happened is Mitch McConnell and the Republicans, in the wake of what happened on January 6th, they had something they could have done. What they could have done is, and I remember covering this at the time and screaming from the top of my lungs that this is the solution. All you had to do was effectively pass a law with a simple majority saying Donald Trump cannot become president again. So any attempt to impeach him, well, that doesn't really make much sense because he's not even going to be in office anymore. Any attempted criminal prosecution, I think, would have fallen short because there just wasn't enough evidence there to convict him of anything in particular, and he spoke out of both sides of his mouth and told the people to go home while also saying, you're special people and I love you and it's great what you're doing. So the only way out of this was to pass a law to say Donald Trump is now banned from ever holding public office again in the United States. You could have done that. There was a method to do that, and it was relatively simple and straightforward to do it. But they didn't do it. And my guess is they thought, well, look, this was a bridge too far for the American people. And so at the time, his approval rating dropped quite a bit when that happened with Trump. But then it bounced back up soon thereafter. And so now we have a situation where they created a monster. And they don't know what to do with that monster. And the Republican Party is so immensely corrupt and bought by big business and is serving their interests relentlessly that there's nobody within the Republican Party that can match the dynamic appeal of Trump to his own base. And so Trump now is able to still maintain an iron grip on Republicans solely through his culture war bullshit. So I think Chris Hedges, when we spoke to him recently on Crystal Kyle and Friends, check that out if you haven't yet, but I think Chris Hedges absolutely nailed it when he said, look, the way to think about Trump and his ardent supporters now is to think about a cult. Because the people who are still with Trump after he governed like a standard Republican, after he continued the status quo, it's more about the person, it's more about the individual, it's more about how he makes them feel. And so that's the thing that no Republican has the ability to break that spell. And anybody who even tries to dissent in any way, shape, or form sort of gets ostracized and ousted from the party. And it's amazing to me that these Republicans, who are massive cucks in public, will not speak out against Trump in public. Behind the scenes, they're like, God damn it, this guy's got an iron grip on power. Well, you helped build that. All you guys helped build that. Every last one of you helped build that. And now they created this monster and they don't know what to do with it. And my guess is, just like all the times this happened previously, the more insane stuff he says, whatever direction he wants to take the party, they will meekly follow along because they care more about their own careers and saving their own asses than they do about any sort of commitment to an ideology. And the fact of the matter is, Trump serves that same corporatocracy as they do, so they just go right along with it. The difference is Trump actually has popularity and he has a cult appeal because of his personality and because of all the culture war stuff. And the other Republicans, they're so pathetic. They're trying so hard in some ways to get that attention and love and adoration from the base, and they just fall short. Look at Ted Cruz with all of his antics. Like Dan Crenshaw, we'll get to a story on that later. But, I mean, there you have it. You have, on January 6th, the anniversary of the riot there, Trump is going to give a speech where he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. The election was stolen, and what happened there was a bunch of patriots were trying to take back their country. That's going to be the argument. That's going to be the argument. So, and with the Democrats effectively standing for nothing and not delivering materially for the American people in a long time, this guy with the cult can actually come back to power. And other Republicans are such giant cucks. They don't even speak out against it, and even if they try to publicly speak out against it, they would get crushed anyway. So I think this really shows an institutional rot that is so deep that this is the best evidence I've ever seen for a deep institutional rot and skepticism of the powers that be in the way the system works now. That you have this guy who's an obvious charlatan, con man, and fraud, and he can basically say whatever the fuck he wants, and he's not going to drop in respect in the eyes of his hardcore base. And the other Republicans are like, I'd like to maybe do something to stop this, but I can't say anything publicly, so I'll just whine to Politico behind the scenes about it, and that's it, and hopefully I get credit for being anti-Trump, even though I won't say anything publicly, and even though he'll probably crush us all in the next primary and be president again. They could be as furious as they want behind the scenes, but if you didn't make actual power moves to prevent another Trump presidency, you're going to own it. Believe me, they would much rather have, the actual conservative elites would much rather have like a Mitt Romney type become president. He's much more predictable, and he's going to serve the same corporations, and he's not going to rile up the crazies nearly as much. So they would prefer that, but since they're massive cucks, Mitch McConnell and the rest of them didn't make any moves to block a Trump 2024 run, so here we are. We're stuck in Groundhog's Day. And by the way, we may actually see either Trump versus Biden, the second run, or Trump versus Hillary. I may actually die from a massive heart attack or a stroke if that happens again. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.